Welcome. You are on the right channel, where every story is more than just a tale, it's a lesson. Today, let me tell you about Catherine, the girl whose beauty turned heads, but whose choices turned her world upside down. From the moment Catherine stepped into St. Mary's Secondary School, she turned heads. She wasn't just beautiful, she was magnetic. Her almond-shaped eyes carried secrets. Her smile had 1,000 meanings, and her voice could calm a storm or stir one. While other girls competed over hairstyles and phone cases, Catherine had already figured out the real currency of attention: men. She never bothered sitting with the girls during breaks. She said their voices gave her headaches, that all they ever did was complain about each other. Women bring drama, men bring attention, she would say, with a casual smirk that made boys stumble over their words. And attention she got. In school corridors, she walked like she was on a runway. Her footsteps echoed with quiet confidence. Boys straightened up when she passed. Girls rolled their eyes or stared at her in silence, their envy barely hidden. Teachers talked about her behind closed doors. Even the vice principal once called her mother to say, "Your daughter is special, but dangerous." By age 16, Catherine had caused 3 school fights and 2 broken relationships among the senior students. One boy fainted after she told him she preferred his best friend. Another boy brought her gifts every week: perfume, earrings, a necklace, until his mother stormed the school and demanded her son's freedom from Catherine's spell. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She didn't need to. Catherine wasn't loud. She was calculated. She knew the power of silence, the power of glances, the way to hold a gaze just long enough to plant a seed. Her admirers grew like weeds, even among married men. Teachers started keeping their distance. Some girls dropped out of school just to avoid the constant comparison, the ridicule, the tension. In the neighborhood, her name became a warning. Mothers whispered it to their sons: "Don't bring that Catherine girl to this house." Wives locked their husbands' phones. Even clerics mentioned her during sermons without calling her name. That girl, the one who walks like no sin can touch her, she will bring ruin, they warned. But Catherine thrived on the chaos. She liked the whispers. She liked the fear. She didn't come for money, but she dressed like she did. Men sponsored her lifestyle. She never asked, they offered. New phones, wigs, clothes, and weekend getaways. And every time people said, "She's ruining lives," Catherine would say, "They give me what they can't give their wives. It's not my fault I'm unforgettable." Her mother, a woman of prayer, tried to talk to her. "Catherine, your beauty is a gift, but if you misuse it, it will become your burden." But Catherine always laughed it off. "Mama, I'm not the one cheating in my marriage. If men fall, it's their fault. I'm just the cliff they chose to jump off." By her early 20s, Catherine's fame had reached other towns. Her Instagram was filled with cryptic captions and flawless pictures, each one attracting more followers, more DMs, more married men offering to fly her out for the weekend. Still, she had no close female friends. The few who tried to get close to her were either pushed away or left heartbroken, betrayed, or humiliated. One of them, Anita, once said, "Being friends with Catherine is like standing too close to a flame. You think you'll feel warmth, but all you get is burns." Catherine didn't care. She was now frequenting expensive restaurants, wearing clothes none of her peers could afford, and driving a sleek white Benz, gifted by one of her many admirers, a married businessman who eventually lost his home and custody of his children. Catherine shrugged it off. "That's not my business." He knew what he was doing, and maybe that was the problem. Catherine never believed consequences could catch up with her. She believed she was untouchable. She believed she was different. She had built a throne on broken hearts and stood tall above the ruins she left behind. Boys fought each other in clubs over her. Husbands left their wives. Entire households collapsed. And through it all, Catherine never blinked. She told herself she was only taking what life owed her. "If I'm beautiful and they want to give me the world, why should I refuse?" But deep down in the silence of her room at night, there were moments, brief and fleeting, when the laughter faded and the silence grew too loud. Moments when the faces of women she'd hurt would flash through her mind like ghosts she couldn't escape. But then her phone would ping, and a new admirer would appear, and the thoughts would vanish. Life continued. She was young, desired, and unstoppable, or so she thought, because fate has a way of slowing down even the fastest runner. Catherine's fame had outgrown her street, her neighborhood, even her town. Her beauty was now a passport to anywhere she pleased. Her Instagram glowed with luxury, private pools, candlelit dinners, airport lounges. The men in her life came and went, each one thinking he was the exception, but all of them ending up the same. Used, heartbroken, forgotten. Then came Alhaji Musa. He was different, not just because he was richer than all her previous lovers combined, but because he was deliberate. Alhaji Musa didn't beg. He didn't chase. He watched. Their first meeting was at a wedding reception in Abuja. Catherine wore a gold-laced gown that hugged her figure like it was tailored by the gods. Heads turned when she walked in, but Alhaji didn't flinch. He simply looked at her once, nodded with a knowing smile, and returned to his drink. That calm, that confidence, it disarmed her. Later that night, when she checked her messages, there it was, a simple text from a number she didn't recognize. "You're used to men falling at your feet. I'd rather walk beside you. Dinner tomorrow?" Alhaji Musa. Something about the message intrigued her. No praise, no desperation, just presence. And so dinner happened. Dinner became lunch. Lunch became weekends. Weekends became whispered secrets. Catherine found herself enjoying his company, not just because of the gifts, which were endless, but because Alhaji Musa didn't ask her to be someone else. He never questioned her past. He didn't scold her for her fame. He just listened, and gave, and planned. Within 3 months, he had gifted her a fully furnished mansion in Lekki. Not rented, bought. And not just for her. Her entire family was moved in. Her mother wept the day they arrived, unable to believe her daughter had secured them such comfort. Alhaji was generous beyond imagination. Cars, designer bags, a monthly allowance that could feed a whole village. But beyond material things, he gave Catherine something she hadn't felt in years: stability. He introduced her to his business associates, took her to meet respected clerics. He even brought up marriage. Catherine laughed the first time he mentioned it. "You want to marry me?" she asked, half amused, half disbelieving. "Why not?" Alhaji replied. "You're not perfect. Neither am I. But I see a future with you." Something in her heart stirred. Could this be real? After everything she'd done, everything she was, could someone truly love her enough to look beyond it? But old habits die hard. While Alhaji traveled for business, Catherine found herself drifting. The attention of other men still thrilled her. Flirting was second nature. She told herself it was harmless, just fun. But late-night chats turned into hotel meetups. Photos were deleted. Lies became routine. And the whispers started again. People warned Alhaji, his driver, his housekeeper, even his younger brother. "That girl has not changed, Alhaji. She's still walking in darkness." But Alhaji Musa was a man of stubborn faith. "She is mine," he would say, "and I will not throw her away because of rumors." Until the night he saw it with his own eyes. He had returned early from a trip to Port Harcourt, unannounced, hoping to surprise her. He walked into the Lekki mansion quietly, wanting to see her face before she saw him. Instead, he saw her hands wrapped around another man. The wine glasses, the music, the laughter. She didn't even hear him walk in. When she finally noticed, her face fell. For the first time, Catherine had no words. The room went silent. The man scrambled. Catherine stood still, her lips parting, her eyes wide. Alhaji said nothing. He turned, walked out, and drove away. 3 days passed, then 4, then a week. Catherine called, texted, even visited his house, but his guards turned her away. And just when she thought he was gone forever, he returned. This time not with anger, but with flowers. I saw what I saw, and I'm still here, he said gently. Because love doesn't run away when it's wounded. It fights harder. Catherine cried, not out of guilt, but out of confusion. What kind of man loved like this? They reconciled, slowly, quietly, and then he proposed, with a ring worth millions and a smile that carried too much hope. The date was fixed. Invitations were printed. The media buzzed. Famous Instagram beauty to marry billionaire Alhaji Musa. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. And on the morning of the wedding, the hall was glowing with chandeliers. Every detail carefully crafted to crown Catherine queen for the day. But the queen was missing. No one had seen her since the night before. Her phone was off. Her friends were confused. Her family assumed she was getting her makeup done privately. But as the minutes turned to hours, the whispers began. The wedding that should have started by 10 a.m. was now standing still at noon. Alhaji paced quietly, his agbada pristine, his face unreadable. His best man urged him to wait a little longer. Maybe she's stuck somewhere. Maybe her nerves are acting up. But by 2 p.m., denial cracked. Alhaji entered the bridal suite himself. Empty. Not even her wedding gown had been touched. The veil still folded. The shoes untouched. Her perfume bottle remained sealed. The bed made. She had vanished. A storm of calls followed. Her friends had no clue. Her siblings were in shock. Even her mother began to weep, confused and embarrassed. Had Catherine run away? Been kidnapped? Or worse, the wedding was called off. Alhaji said nothing. He simply nodded, walked away from the guests, entered his car, and disappeared from public view. Days passed, then weeks, and still no word from Catherine. Until 3 months later. It was a quiet morning in Abuja. Alhaji was meeting with an old friend at a rooftop cafe when he spotted something. Or someone. Catherine. Laughing. Holding hands with a young man who couldn't have been more than 30. A small-time music producer with no fame, no wealth, and definitely no mansion in Lekki. Alhaji stared in disbelief. She looked happy. Alive. Not kidnapped. Not crying. Not apologizing. He approached her. Calmly. His voice low. Catherine. She blinked. The smile faded. For a moment, she seemed unsure of what to say. But then she found her voice. I'm sorry. Do I know you? Alhaji's chest tightened. Stop. You know who I am. She sipped her drink and shrugged. Even if I did, that was another life. Let's not dig up the past. Catherine, his voice cracked. You left me on our wedding day. Then take that as a blessing. You're a good man. I'm just not a wife kind of girl. But I loved you. You loved your idea of me. Tears welled in Alhaji's eyes. I gave you everything. And I didn't ask you to. The words fell like stones. Catherine stood up, dusted her lap, held her new man's hand, and walked away, leaving behind a man broken in a way no wealth could heal. Months passed, then years. Catherine got married to that same man. A small court wedding. No grand fanfare. No white roses. Just a celebration of her freedom, as she called it online. But life had other plans. They tried for a child. And tried. And tried. Nothing. Doctors said everything was fine. But no baby came. She turned to prayers. Then fasting. Then herbs. Then prophets. Finally, she went to a renowned Babalawo, a spiritualist whose words many feared. The old man didn't let her speak. He simply looked at her and said, You hurt a man who carried your destiny. You broke a heart that carried your womb. You betrayed a soul who never cursed you, but the gods witnessed your cruelty. Catherine's knees buckled. She asked what could be done. The Babalawo shook his head. The pant he gifted you. The night you left, he took it. With your hairbrush. With your perfume. Not to harm you, but to preserve his pain. And pain is a powerful charm when mixed with tears. Catherine screamed. She searched everywhere for Alhaji, but no one knew where he was. He had sold his properties, closed his accounts, vanished like smoke. She posted online, begging forgiveness. She confessed on podcasts, weeping about her mistakes. But no one knew where he had gone. Her marriage crumbled. Her husband grew bitter. She grew desperate. And in time, old age arrived. Childless, alone. Her beauty faded, but the story didn't. Young boys would point at her in the market and say, "That's the woman who left a millionaire at the altar." Girls giggled behind her back, mocking the woman who had everything, but now had nothing. And sometimes, just sometimes on quiet nights, neighbors swore they saw her sitting at the gate, staring into the stars, whispering his name like a forgotten prayer. Alhaji. But the wind never answered. Years had passed since the day Catherine vanished on her wedding morning. The memory of Alhaji's eyes, filled with betrayal and disbelief, still haunted her, especially on nights when sleep refused to come. But now, the crowd that once followed her, the suitors that once sang her name, the friends who once envied her life, all were gone. Her marriage to the young man she chose over Alhaji had long crumbled. Arguments turned into silence, silence into distance, and distance into separation. He had moved on, found another woman, had 3 children. Catherine was left behind with nothing but memories. Still, what haunted her most was not her loneliness. It was the curse. Doctors had said she was healthy, but every spiritual place she visited gave the same answer. You wronged a man who never cursed you, but his tears were heard in heaven. She heard it from pastors, from herbalists. Even a mad woman at a bus stop once shouted, "You, the one who left gold for gravel." That day, Catherine broke down in the middle of the street. She began searching for Alhaji Musa, not to beg for marriage, but to beg for mercy. But he had vanished. Lagos, Abuja, Kano, nothing. His businesses had been shut down. His friends either didn't know his whereabouts or refused to say. Some even believed he had traveled abroad to start over. Others whispered he had become a recluse, living in a quiet village, refusing to see anyone from his past. Catherine didn't stop. She traveled far and wide, sometimes on foot, sometimes with borrowed money, always with tears in her eyes and a prayer on her lips. One rainy morning, in a small village near Ilorin, she finally heard something. An old man at a petrol station overheard her begging a shopkeeper for information. "You're looking for Musa the Alhaji?" She turned quickly, hope flaring. "Yes, sir. Please, do you know him?" The old man nodded slowly. "He used to live here. Quiet man. Kept to himself. Helped the orphans. Prayed every morning. Never spoke much." Her heart raced. "Where is he now?" The old man looked down. "Dead. 2 years now. Buried behind the mosque. He died peacefully, but he never mentioned any wife or children." Catherine collapsed on the floor, weeping uncontrollably. The villagers gathered, confused by the scene. Someone offered her water. Someone else guided her to the small graveyard. And there, beneath a simple marble stone that read, "Alhaji Musa Salisu, a good man wronged by love." She knelt. She screamed. She begged. But the grave was silent. She visited every week after that. Sometimes she brought flowers, sometimes letters, sometimes just her voice, whispering apologies the wind couldn't carry. But nothing changed. No child, no joy, no closure. Time, that cruel thief, kept moving. Catherine grew older. Her hair grayed. Her skin sagged. But her pain stayed fresh. She tried to adopt children, but the homes rejected her. Some remembered the scandal. Others said the spirits around her were not safe for children. She opened a small tailoring shop, but business was slow. People gossiped, called her the vanishing bride, the woman who mocked love, the one whose womb was sealed by tears. And still she endured. Until one day, she sat by the roadside, watching school children laugh and run past. One little boy pointed, "Mummy, that's the woman who ran away from wedding cake." His mother hushed him, but Catherine just smiled weakly. She had no energy left to defend herself. The final blow came on her 65th birthday. She lit a single candle in her one-room apartment. Alone, she whispered to the dark, "If I could go back, I'd marry you, Alhaji. I'd stay. I'd be faithful. I'd choose love over lust. Forgive me." But the candle flickered and died, and the silence answered back. Catherine's steps were slower now. She no longer wore the bright clothes or bold makeup that once made her the envy of every girl and the desire of every man. Her gowns were simple, her eyes hollow, her laughter extinct. The tailoring shop had closed. The house Alhaji bought for her family was sold off long ago. Her siblings had moved on. Some traveled abroad, others got married. None of them stayed close. At 70, Catherine lived alone in a small, rented room beside a dusty football field in a forgotten part of town. The children who once mocked her were now grown, walking past her like a ghost of the past. But on this day, something was different. She woke up with a strange calmness in her chest, like something was calling her. She looked in the mirror. A woman wrinkled by time and sorrow stared back. "I will tell my truth," she whispered. She walked to the mosque cemetery where Alhaji Musa had been buried. The villagers greeted her like they always did, cautiously. Some pitied her. Others still believed she was cursed, but none disturbed her visit. She knelt beside his grave, placing a piece of white cloth on the grass. Then she began to speak. "Alhaji Musa, if your soul can hear me, listen one last time. I was foolish. I thought the world would always love me. I thought my beauty could never fade. I thought men were toys, and I was the master of the game." She paused, wiping tears from her cracked cheeks. "You were the only one who loved me beyond my beauty. You gave my family a home. You gave me dignity, but I betrayed it. I denied you in public after you defended me in private, and you still forgave me, still wanted to marry me." Her voice shook, but I never showed up. I chose excitement over peace. I chose lies over loyalty. And now look at me. She held up her hands, empty, trembling, weak. I have no child, no husband, no friend. I have lived long, but I have not lived well. Birds chirped in the distance as a gentle breeze passed through the trees. I went from being the most wanted woman to the most forgotten. I know you cried because of me. I know you died with pain in your heart. And I am sorry. I am sorry. Suddenly, she pulled out a small white envelope. Inside was a letter. She placed it on the grave. "This is everything I own. My confession. If there is still a God who listens, if there is still mercy in this world, maybe someone will read it. Maybe some girl will learn from my ruin." She stood up slowly, her knees weak from age and sorrow. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Catherine sat in her room, staring at the single photo she still had of herself and Alhaji, taken the day he introduced her to his mother. It was the only memory that hadn't faded. That night, her neighbors said they heard a whisper, like someone praying, like someone finally letting go. By morning, Catherine was gone. They found her sitting upright, her head bowed, a soft smile on her face. In her lap was a final note. To the girl who thinks beauty is enough. To the boy who thinks love should be tested. To the heart that thinks forgiveness has no limits. Remember me, not for what I had, but for what I lost. She was buried beside Alhaji, after much pleading from the villagers who had finally come to understand the weight of her pain. The imam prayed quietly. No ceremony, no crowd, but a few young girls who had heard of Catherine's story visited her grave often. They didn't bring flowers. They brought notebooks, writing down their dreams, their mistakes, and the lessons they had learned. And so, Catherine's curse became a caution. Her ruin became a reminder, and her name a quiet whisper in the wind, warning every listener. Never mock love, never waste forgiveness, and never think time will wait. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe, stay wise, and always listen to the voice of reason.